Good morning. I'm Pat Croce, and this is the American Cancer Society's HEALED Community Gathering, and you're part of that community. HEALED stands for Health and Energy through Active Living every day, starting right now. And before I introduce our guest, we start every gathering with a moment of stillness to bring your mind into the present moment, to leave the past be in the past, to leave the future to be in the future, and just be with the reality of now. Perfect. As you placed your attention lovingly on the sound of that Tibetan bell, it brought you into the now. And during that now time, there was no worry, no angst, no misery, no suffering, or what the Buddha would call dukkha, no dukkha. No, when you're in the present moment, you can't have a problem. As soon as you leave the present moment and project to the future or pull from the past, comparison to the past, expectation to the future, that's when all the problems and suffering arise. That doesn't mean if you're diagnosed with cancer that you won't be in pain. Physical pain. Psychological pain, though, is something different. And that's the goal. The intention here of ACS HEALED is to take your mental pain and wash it away, to inform you, inspire you, educate you, entertain you, and encourage you to be in the present moment, body, mind, and spirit. And that's what we work on here, our body, mind, and spirit. And you will get tips throughout the course of this next hour. And some of them you can use, some of them you can pass over. But the ripple effect of this gathering is so powerful because we all know someone who's been diagnosed with cancer. If not yourself, someone in your family or some dear friend. So if you can share with them some insight on how to lessen their psychological pain while they're undergoing treatment or post-treatment so that they can revive their life, not thrive, revive, and go past thriving, and not just surviving, but really living life to its fullest. And it can only be done now. And now it brings me the opportunity to bring our first guest on. And this first guest, I invite the beginning of every month. Her name is Dr. Jeannie Subach. She's a registered dietitian, a sports nutritionist to be exact. She's a professor at the Westchester University Department of Nutrition. I've known Jeannie for 40 years. She taught me a lot about nutrition along the years because she worked with me with the Philadelphia Flyers when I was their physical conditioning coach. She worked with me when I was with the Philadelphia 76ers as their physical conditioning coach. And she was with me with the Philadelphia 76ers when I ran the team because I wanted everyone to have the edge. Truly the edge. And I truly believe the edge is not only mental, physical, spiritual, but what you put into your mouth is something really, really important. Dr. Jeannie Subach, would you please come on?
Hey, Pat, how are you?
Hi, Jeannie. And for all of those who are here, I call her Jeannie. So we go back, but it is Dr. Jeannie Subach. So if you have questions for Jeannie, we will be available at the end of this show for any questions. And Jeannie brings with her she's in the nutrition lab at Westchester University right now. She brings with her a topic of interest. And today, Jeannie, surprise us. What it is?
We're going to talk about yogurt. Yeah, we're going to talk about pre and probiotics. So we have two topics today. We'll talk a little bit about beans, which are your prebiotic, and then we'll talk about our yogurt and our cultured dairy products, which are your probiotics, and why that's so important for everybody. But, those going through cancer treatments and prevention of cancer, we really want to have good gut health. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Jeannie, can we go back one step? Because you hear the term prebiotic, probiotic. What exactly do they mean?
So in our intestinal tract, you have bacteria, and you always hear people say that you want good bacteria because good bacteria, an example, helps you produce vitamin K. So you need that good bacteria in your system. But the good bacteria, which is the probiotics, they need to feed on something, which are the prebiotics. So what we talk about is the fact that we all know our diet should be high in fruits and vegetables and our whole grains, which are your prebiotics. And then the probiotics through different foods, through what you have in your system and through different foods, they actually feed on the prebiotics. And that's what is giving you good gut bacteria.
So let's go to the point of what's bad gut bacteria.
That's just an overgrowth. Like we talk about people that have an overgrowth of bacteria in their system, and that causes a whole array of different problems. But if you're eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of high-fat processed foods, not hydrating enough, if you're on a lot of antibiotics for medical conditions, you can have an overgrowth, and it kind of destroys your bacterial health.
Oh, so give us the health benefits of the probiotic of yogurt.
Okay, so the probiotics, let's think back, Pat, to when we were young. Do you remember that Dannon commercial? It was a gentleman, I think he was from Russia. He had the big Russian accent,
yeah.
And he was like 100 years old, and he was spooning out the Dannon yogurt. Well, back then, and that was probably like the 70s, yogurt was really new, and it was only hippies that ate yogurt. It was always the health nuts. But they found that yogurt has so many different properties. It's a great source of protein. It's a good source of calcium. But more importantly, it is a good source of the bacteria that when you ingest it, it's like fertilizer for your intestinal tract. Let's say that. You take it in, and if you have the prebiotics, which is your fruits and your vegetables and your beans, that's in your gut. Then you add the pro. They have a party. They multiply, and they multiply and have that good bacteria. And the good bacteria is a lot of things. And now we're even saying that for mental health, that if you have good gut microbiome, that's going to increase your mental health and overall health in general.
Wow. So Jeannie, just because it says yogurt on the label doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you.
No, you know what? There's many different types of yogurt, Pat. So when I talk about yogurt, I'm talking about a non-fat or full fat if you need full fat. I don't need full fat right now. But if you are a cancer patient and you need to put on some weight, by all means, you can use the whole fat yogurt. But I am talking about a non-fat but most importantly, an unsweetened yogurt. You go down that yogurt aisle in the store, and I cringe with all the added sugars, and especially the ones that are marketed towards children, the Go-Gurts and, the fruit on the bottom. They have all these characters on it, but you really want the plain yogurt. And then you're going to add your own fruit, which is that prebiotic. So you add those blueberries, I'm a fan of blueberries, and then you put the yogurt on it, and the party begins. And that's how you cultivate that good health.
So those who, like us, are lactose intolerant but still want to eat yogurt, I use almond milk yogurt.
Okay.
Now, is there any problem with that?
So the only downside of our plant-based yogurts, such as your almond yogurt or your coconut yogurt, would be that it doesn't have as much protein in it as the cow milk yogurt.
Oh, you're right.
Or the soy yogurt. So when I was in my vegan stage, I still wanted to do yogurt because I wanted that good bacteria. So I would make my soy yogurt. And as long as it has the active cultures in it, a plant-based yogurt is absolutely fine. I don't like the store-bought ones, so I would make my own soy yogurt. And what I would do is I would add my probiotic to it. So this is a little capsule. This happens to be a vegetarian capsule. So all of our, vegetarian and vegan friends, this doesn't have any animal products in it. So I would take my soy milk, I would heat it up, let it cool, put this in it, and it starts to ferment, and it gives you that tangy flavor. But more importantly, it gives you the active cultures. So this is one that I use. I get this online, and it lasts a long time. But if you're not an online shopper, you can go to CVS and you can buy a little probiotic like that.
I didn't know that. And you add that to your yogurt?
If I'm making my own yogurt. So, ta-da, when I'm making my own yogurt, I can add, if I'm making a plant-based yogurt, I will add a probiotic to it. If I'm making a regular cow's milk yogurt like this one, I just add 2 tablespoons of a already done yogurt culture. So that's how you do that. And I have right here, Pat, this is an oldie but goodie, and I'm sure Diane probably has one of these. A yogurt machine?
No, we don't.
You don't? Okay. So yogurt is the easiest thing to make. All you need is, you don't need a yogurt maker. You need a pot. You need some milk. You need a thermometer. And then you need a culture. So the culture could be what you buy in the store, a ready-made yogurt. Or if you cannot do lactose, you can get the probiotic in the store.
But let me clarify. In the almond milk, a Kite Hill is what I use. Vanilla Kite Hill.
Great brand.
That does have the probiotic in it.
It does. Yes, it does.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because you're saying plant-based may not.
No. I said plant-based does not have the protein in it.
Oh, okay. Yes, you did. You're
Yeah.
right. It only has like 3 grams of protein.
Right. It doesn't have the protein in it, but if they're calling it a yogurt and they're advertising it with the active cultures, they have to put it in. There's a difference. So an example, Chobani has 6 strains of the yogurt. The Wegmans brand has 5 strains of the yogurt. The supplement that I have right here has 8 strains of the yogurt. So there's different strains of it. You want to have at least 5. 5 is pretty much what you're going to get in an average yogurt, but 5 up to 8 is what you can get.
Great. So my yogurt, and I just use one of those cups of yogurt, and it might be 130, 150 calories. And then I add, as you talk about, blueberries.
Yep.
Strawberries when they're in season.
Yep.
Flaxseed, chia seed.
Yep.
And sunflower seed. So that's kind of like my concoction. I'm sorry. And a good handful of granola.
Right. So that's where by putting those seeds in there, you're increasing the protein content of that plant-based yogurt. So without even knowing it, Pat, your additions got you a similar protein content as if you were doing a cow's milk yogurt.
Oh, that's good, because the granola I use, I like Trader Joe's peanut butter granola. It's 10 grams per serving. So it's it's because it has peanuts in it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect.
And my stomach can tolerate that. I mean, and that's scary. For people who have IBS, you have to really be careful of what ferments, because I don't want to be tooting all day. Exactly.
When we say beans, the magical fruit.
Well, now talking about beans, yogurt I love yogurt. I don't like Greek yogurt. Diane does, but to me, that's just too yogurty. I just but the vanilla yogurt that I enjoy, because then I can mix in the fruit. And I would love to eat beans, but I can't tolerate the gaseousness of beans. But I know they're such a wholesome food. You called that a prebiotic.
Yes, it's a prebiotic. So that's why it gives you gas, because it starts rumbling in your stomach and all the bacteria starts working. All you need to do is cook your beans and rinse them.
Oh.
So if you're rinsing your beans, that decreases some of the carbohydrates, which and prevents it from fermenting, which causes the gas. So you can rinse your beans, and rinsing beans actually decreases the sodium content up to about, if you drain and rinse, the sodium content decreases about 41%. Or you can use your dried beans, and your dried beans don't have any sodium in them. But with your dried beans, you want to soak them, you want to cook them, and then rinse them again. And then that does help with the gas problems. So
tell us about the benefit of beans.
Well, they're plant-based, so they have no saturated fat in them. They have no fat in them. Dried beans have no sodium in them. They're a great source of fiber. They're a good source of magnesium. They're a good source of folate. They have some iron in it, not a great source, but they have a lot of nutrients in it. They do increase the satiety, but the biggest thing is the fiber. So they have a good amount of fiber. Female, I need about 25 grams a day. Pat, male, you need about 36 grams of fiber a day.
Is there an equation for fiber for your body weight?
No, it's just a general. For people with calories, sometimes we say about on a 2,000 calorie diet, about 25 grams of fiber. But for children, it is the age plus 5. So a 10-year-old would need 15 grams of fiber up to the age of 18. But normally we say females about 25 and males about 36. So the guys need a little bit more fiber in the diet.
Okay, how about overcoming treatment, chemotherapy, surgery, radiation? Would a cancer patient require more fiber?
No, not necessarily. And that's a path that you have to walk with your physician and then your registered dietitian. And I highly recommend that if you're going through treatment, talk to your physician and say, do you have a dietitian on staff? Because the registered dietitian that specializes in oncology knows so much. I remember when my dad was in the hospital, when he was going through his cancer treatments, and that dietitian gave my mom so much hope, and just sat with her and gave her ideas of what she could feed him when he didn't feel like eating. So I highly recommend that you go and get that nutrition professional, the registered dietitian that specializes in oncology. And if your physician doesn't have one, you want to say, hey, you know what? Would you consider bringing an RD on staff, because they're a wealth of knowledge? But to answer your questions, it depends on the person. We do know that when you're on a lot of antibiotic treatments, that your gut bacteria is dying. So that's why they will often say, if you're on an antibiotic, eat some yogurt. That's going to help facilitate the growth of it. So not necessarily with more fiber. As we know, you have to meet the client where they are. And if they can eat a little bit more fiber, that's fine. But sometimes more fiber can give you distress. And we, by all means, do not want anybody having gastric distress. Don't go too high. I remember years ago, Pat, I had a client in the sports executive fitness program, and he heard me say fiber. And he went to Fiber One, and he went to whole wheat bread, and he went to raisins and dried fruit. And he called me. He said, "Wow, my gosh, what did you do to me?" I said, "I didn't tell you to eat it all in one day." So you have to start slow, do what's tolerated. But one thing, you have to make sure when you increase your fiber, you need to increase your fluids. Because if you increase your fiber without increasing your fluids, you're going to have a ball. You're going to have a mass, and that's going to cause constipation. And we don't want that. And we also know that people on some type of medications, it constipates you. So you don't want to make that constipation even worse by doing a lot of fiber and not a lot of fluids.
So a little is good, a lot is not necessarily better.
Exactly. Just kind of titrate up, see what your body can tolerate, and then your body will talk to you. Your body's going to talk to you.
If you pay attention.
Yes.
Back to yogurt. If a little is good, is there too much probiotic that you can take that's dangerous?
Not that I know of. I will investigate that question and get back to you.
No, I was just wondering, because yogurt with fruit, when someone really doesn't have the taste buds, doesn't really feel like eating because of the wear and tear of cancer treatment, yogurt is like an ice cream, but healthier.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, if someone really enjoys it, is there a certain amount that they can or cannot have?
No, I mean, I wouldn't go more than, 3 a day. The old dietary guidelines, we push dairy, and we used to say 3 dairy a day. So 3 containers, would be fine. I do 1. Good tip, if you want something sweet that tastes like ice cream, my nighttime snack is a yogurt. And I put dark red frozen cherries in it.
Oh.
It's excellent. And, 1 cup of that, and then the yogurt. So for less than 200 calories, you're getting a real treat. It's soothing, and it feels good. So you can do that. But Pat, you know what? I do want to show you my yogurt, though.
Oh yeah, no, share with us and how you make it.
Easy. So you can do one thing. So what you're going to do, you're going to take your milk and you're going to heat it up. If you're using cow's milk, you need to heat it above 190 degrees. And that's where you're going to need your thermometer. So you put that on, you heat it up. And then the important part is you have to bring the temperature down to less than 110 degrees. So you take it, you can either walk away. I put it in an ice bath, and then you add 2 tablespoons of yogurt or your probiotic, whisk it all up, and then you pour it into your jars. And one thing we do have to talk about, Pat, we talk about food safety, especially with our cancer patients, because your immune system is so low. And we have to be extra careful that we're not having a foodborne illness. So We want to make sure we sterilize our containers. And that's just boiling. Put them in the dishwasher, boil them, sterilize your containers, put it in, and then you can put it in something like your yogurt machine, if you have one. And my kids gave this to me, I think, for my 40th birthday. So this is like almost 20 years old. You can put it like this, or you can see, Pat, the Instapot, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Instapot actually has a yogurt setting in it. But if you don't have this and you don't have a yogurt, Instapot, you wrap it in a clean kitchen towel and you put it in your cabinet. You come back the next day and you have yogurt. So it's wonderful. Look how thick this is. See this?
Wait a second. After you made the yogurt, you didn't put it in the refrigerator?
For the first 12 to 24 hours, you don't. After
really?
Then you put it then you must put it in the refrigerator.
Wait, say that again, because I think I spoke on you when I said really. I want to make sure everyone hears exactly. Once you made your yogurt, go through the directions once again, from the beginning all the way through till you eat it.
So you sterilize your glasses. You take out your pot, you put your milk in. If you're using cow's milk, you take it above 190 degrees to kill all the bacteria. Once it gets to 190 degrees, you let it cool below 110, because if it's not cool enough, you will kill that active culture that you're putting in. So once it cools to below 110, you add 2 tablespoons of your yogurt.
That's important. See, that's really good to let it know below 110 so you don't kill the cultures that are going to heal you.
Well, it's not going to thicken. You'll know it's not going to thicken. So below 110, add the yogurt or the probiotic, and then you whisk it up really nice. You put it in your clean jars, and then you can either put it in a yogurt maker, an Instapot, or in the old-fashioned days, you take a clean kitchen towel, you wrap it, like Martha Stewart. She doesn't use any of these meal machines. She wraps it in a clean kitchen towel. She puts it in her cabinet, comes back the next day, and you have a really nice, thick yogurt. Now,
24 hours later.
Yeah, well, actually, in yogurt machine, about 12 hours, you'll see it solidify. Don't touch it, though. Don't be like, I'm a nudge. I'm always like touching things. Let it sit. Let it, ferment, and it'll come on its own turn. Then you take this. Now, if I want to make Greek yogurt out of this, I just pour it in. Look how thick that is. I'm very proud of this. Look how thick. You can just put it in a strainer. And then what happens is that whey, which is the liquid, that strains off, and you have the casein, which is the great protein, and that's what you're going to eat. But that whey, don't throw that out. Put that in something else. Mix it in something else. You can mix it in a smoothie, and that's a really, really, that's wonderful probiotics in that liquid. So that's how you're going to make your yogurt.
That's what it makes a Greek yogurt, by taking the whey out?
Yeah, you strain it. You strain it, and the liquid comes out. And then that's what
I thought maybe you pour some ouzo in it or something.
No. Where do you think you get whey protein? They strain it out and then they dry it, and then we pay big bucks for that.
Yeah, Diane loves the Greek. I'm not me. I'm not into it.
But you know what? You eat what you like. That's what you do. Eat like you. Just don't buy the ones with the sugar in it. That makes me sad. Yeah.
I get it. Okay, you go over. Enjoy your homemade yogurt. We're going to bring our survivor guest and then bring you back for more questions from me, from our guest, and from our audience.
Great.
Thanks, Jeannie, as always. Dr. Jeannie Subach. She's there at the nutrition lab at Westchester University. Is she not the best? Wow. So this gathering, we have a survivor story. We don't always every week, but we've had some tremendous stories that just pull your heart out. And this one today is Dawn Kirsch. Come on, Dawn.
Hi, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. And I'd like Dawn to share with us her story, because there's a reason why she was diagnosed when she was diagnosed. So, Dawn, take us back.
Thank you, Pat. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm honored to be here. Well, just to give you a little backstory, I'm married. I have 3 grown children. My last one is in college at this point. My backstory, I'm a music major, a vocal performance major in college, attended Marywood University. and did a lot of performing back in college and prior to college. Also did a lot of fitness work with my sister up in the Poconos. That was basically how I paid my way through college, was teaching.
What kind of fitness work, Dawn?
Oh, well, back then it was jazzercise. No longer jazzercise, but back then it was jazzercise. But yeah, it helped to get me through college. And I also taught baton twirling and modeling and different things like that, which was all from my prior history.
What was that, Miss Rhode Island?
Miss Rhode Island and the Miss America pageant in 1980. It seems like forever ago, but yeah, it was a great experience. And, I feel like all the experiences that people have in their life, it always, all comes to fruition and all comes, it's all there for a reason, and it always helps in whatever you're going through. But as a young child, I was always taught to do a lot of volunteer work. And as a teenager, I was involved with the Girl Scouts, of course, and we did a lot of volunteer work with that. But one specific volunteer opportunity that I did for several years was to work at a terminally ill hospital with patients. And I would wheel them to church on Saturday and Sundays. And we got to know each other, and it was really great. And I made a lot of great friends, and we communicated for years, as many years as they lived. Some of them actually even came to my wedding, which was really awesome. We had about 6 or 8 patients come in their wheelchairs to the wedding. It was just a beautiful, beautiful sight to see them enjoying themselves and having a good time. But that was my beginning with my volunteerism, and that stuck with me. That was just something that I would have never thought back then. And now in hindsight, because of this program, I'm thinking about that. Wow, like what an opportunity that was for me to have that opportunity. So back in the 90s, I had 2 young children in the 90s. And well, I should go back a little further and say that my eldest sister, she was 18 years older than I. My other sister's 17 years older, and my brother's 12. So I was an oopsie child.
So you're a puppy.
So I was my mother's happy mistake, is what she always called me. But my eldest sister developed breast cancer at age 30, and she had 5 children. And she suffered with breast cancer throughout, I would say, 8 years of her lives. And she passed at age 38, leaving 5 children behind. I didn't know what cancer was back then. I was a teenager. I didn't have a clue. I had no idea. And, like nobody talked about it. It was really sad that nobody really talked about it.
It was just the C word.
It was the big C word, and it was hush hush. And I just remember going to a party that her friends had put on for her before she passed. And it was just the comments that they were making and such about how, it was secretive, and, we're just glad that we're here for you and that kind of thing. And I didn't really realize back then, because like I said, I was a teenager, that it was so secretive and people were just ashamed to have it and such. So, going forward, at age 28, I actually had my first mammogram because of my sister. So having passed and
was it your decision?
I was told that I should have one at age 28, starting at age 28 by my OB. Yeah, by my OB-GYN. And so I had it, and everything was fine with it. Meanwhile, I had 2 children. Fast forward 2 children. My second child was born in 91. I have young children. I'm not thinking about going to get a mammogram. That's the last thing on my mind. I'm busy trying to raise my kids. And I remember going into my OB, and she's like, "You haven't had a mammogram in a while." And this was the first time I had seen her. She was new in the practice. And I give kudos to her, because she actually read my history from the beginning. And she said to me, "I see your sister passed of breast cancer. You need to go get another mammogram. You haven't had one in 2 years. So you need to go get one." I listened to her. I went and got the mammogram. And don't you know?
Wait, let's stop for 1 second. What
Sure.
made you listen to her?
Because of what my sister went through. Because exactly what my sister went through. I saw how she struggled with it, especially in the end. And that gave me the push, just go get it done. I honestly wasn't thinking of it. I was raising 2 little kids. I went to my regular checkup. She said, "Go get it done." I had it done. A couple of weeks prior, my mother, who was living with me at the time, my dad had passed, my mom was living with me. She had her mammogram. She was in and out in, 10 minutes. Me, I went in for my mammogram. I was in there for at least an hour. And I knew there was something at that point in time that they were looking at. it wasn't until my doctor called me and said, this was a Thursday, he called me and said, you know what, I'm clearing my schedule for Monday. You need to come in with your husband at 3:00. We need to sit down and have a chat. So, right then, and I knew, and I had been active and healthy all my life. Like, that was the last thing in my mind, was that I would, have breast cancer, hereditary issues, that breast cancer doesn't, it's more prevalent in people that haven't had it, in their back history. But, for me, it just happened, but honestly, it's put me through things, and I've done things that I've never thought I would do because of my breast cancer journey. And I was working out at the Y. I started working out with my children when my second child got a little older. She was about 1.5. And, I was just in an exercise class, and the instructor didn't show up that day. Oops. And the supervisor came in and she goes, well, we're without an instructor today. Hey, Dawn, how about you? Why don't you come and teach a class? Well, let me tell you, my hair stood on end, because it had been years since I had taught a class. And that was my beginnings of my teaching exercise classes at the Y.
Is this after surgery?
This was before I started my surgery. Before my surgery, I would say a few months in. And started teaching, got certified.
So you're fit your whole life. Fitness and
I'm pretty fit
exercise
all
has
my
been
life,
part
yes.
of your entire daily
Yes.
schedule. And now
Yes.
you're diagnosed, but you're still exercising.
Yes.
And now you
my
become
gosh,
a teacher.
Yes. And it was because of my becoming a teacher, when I was diagnosed, I was a little frustrated because there were no classes out there for breast cancer survivors. I'm like, well, what about them? There's nothing really for them. And so I started researching it, talked to different people, talked to my supervisor. She got me trained, and I started teaching. And I've been teaching breast cancer, survivors for 25 plus years.
So Dawn, let's take a special note right here. A cancer exercise specialist.
Mm-hmm.
What is involved in becoming a certified cancer exercise specialist? And what is the program for those who have been diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer? How's it work? What's different about it?
Well, cancer exercise specialists, we go through training for a couple weekends, the entire weekend. We're all together. You learn everything about the body. You learn about, chemotherapy. You learn about radiation, various other treatments. You learn about the body. I had most of that background already prior to becoming a cancer exercise specialist. So that was very beneficial for me. But the class, basically what I've molded the class into, is really a regular exercise class where a survivor can come in together with other survivors and do a nice warm up, a gentle warm up, and do some type of cardio. Maybe we go out and we walk, or maybe we do very low impact aerobics, something very easy. The women that come in are, some are newly diagnosed, and some have had, they've been survivors for many years. So you have a gamut, and you have to be able to teach a class that, helps all of the people in your class. So on any one day, when somebody when say I have 5-10 people come in, whatever, I sculpt my class around those folks that are there, so that I'm working around whatever other issues they have, whether they have back issues or knee issues or whatever. I try to work around whatever their issues are. And it's great because, and then you've talked about this so many times in your other programs, it helps your mind, your body. It helps, helps de-stress you. I mean, especially in these times that we're living in with COVID, we're all stressed. We all have anxiety. It really helps with that. It helps with flexibility, range of motion, regain their strength, so many things. And on top of it, it becomes this lovely small group that supports each other.
Stay there, right there. See, that to me, when we talk body, mind, spirit, it sounds like this cancer exercise survivor program has this special ingredient where you're not in it alone. It's almost like our bracelet, that green bead
Exactly.
makes you special, knowing that everyone else has undergone almost similar treatment plans, similar, I guess, self-awareness issues, that like there's someone to talk to, a mentorship.
Absolutely. They've become such good friends. And, right now with COVID, I'm not teaching at the Y. I've just decided to start taking them over to the park. So we've been doing the park since the summer. We walk, we'll do some toning, we do some stretching. And you know what? They love it because they're feeling good. It's giving them energy to get them through their days. I have one lady right now that is going through cancer treatment, and she loves it. It's making her feel so good, and it's an opportunity to connect with other survivors that they know what she's going through, and they can support her. So it's been very beneficial for all the ladies. And, I've met so many wonderful people throughout, my history and my journey with that. And then on top of that, because of my involvement with exercise, I was asked to join the Chester County Board for the American Cancer Society way back in the 90s. And that's how I got involved with the Relay for Life movement. Pretty much it was dropped in my lap the first year I actually participated as a committee member, let's say. I had just found out that I was pregnant, and the person that was chairing said, Dawn, by the way, I'm not going to be able to be here next year, so would you mind being the chair? This was on microphone, open mic. What do you say? I can't say no. So I said, yes, I would do it. And I've been doing Relay for Life for many years, close to 30 years. About 28
So Dawn,
years.
for those of the gathering who don't know what Relay for Life is, describe it.
Okay. Well, it's a movement. It's been around for many years. It started in 1985 with one doctor walking around a track trying to raise money for his patients. And it's become this massive movement from the American Cancer Society. It started out as a 24-hour thing, and now it's really becoming all kinds of things. So it's a chance for people in the community to come together as a community, support your survivors. Survivors come to the event. We celebrate and honor the survivors. We thank our caregivers because they are the backbone to our survivors. They help us get through that. We have a beautiful luminaria ceremony that's all tied into everything, where we light luminaria and we walk the track. It's just really one of the most beautiful events that I know. And I love it because it encompasses and includes all cancer survivors, not just breast cancer or not just prostate cancer, all cancers. I also love it because we get kids involved from school. Well, it's a great way for them to learn to be organized, to become a team captain, how to learn to work with people, how to put a team together. What do I do? And how do I share my responsibilities? And, it's really a great learning opportunity in that aspect, but it's a great way for the community to give back. If you want to do something to help the survivors in your community, go and be a part of a Relay for Life event in any of your communities. And while I'm on that, I want to say shout out to our survivors too while we're here.
You're the chair of the Chester County Relay for Life,
yes,
right?
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
And when does it normally occur?
Ours usually occurs in May. For this coming year, it's May 21st. Mm-hmm.
And about how many people get involved?
Last year, we did a drive-through event. It was about 219. Normally, we have more, but the past 2 years has been a challenge. Back in 2020, we converted to a virtual event, complete virtual event, which, I'm not a big tech person. So it was a big learning curve for me. And then this past year, we ended up doing a drive-through, which was kind of, some of it was virtual. Our ceremonies were virtual, but everything else was a drive-through. And it was really lovely. It was lovely. I wish more people had come out and seen it. We had a fire truck there. They had the arch with the flag across because we celebrated our heroes, which are our police and our fire department and all the doctors and nurses who have been so overwhelmed the past couple of years. So we included that in our ceremonies last year as well. But we have a great committee. You talk to any relay person and they'll tell you how awesome their relay committees are. They are dedicated and passionate about trying to help the cancer survivors in their community. We specifically put on a survivor dinner that is not at Relay. It's specific. It's at a country club. We have a lovely person business that sponsors it every year, which we're very grateful for, and that's why we're able to do it. But it's free to all the cancer survivors, minimal fee for their caregivers or a guest. We have entertainment. We celebrate and honor them. It's just, really a lovely evening. And then we do something similar have a reception after we celebrate our survivors at the Relay for Life event. So
You
kudos to all
talked
the
about
players out there.
you talked about COVID, and I see that you have a Zoom survivor program.
Yes,
What
we
is that?
started that last year. Well, my staff person, Brianna Amato, and I wanted to do something specific for our survivors. I'm very connected to our survivors here in the community, especially with, the exercise program, and I kept very close with them the whole time through COVID. We decided we would put this together so that it was an opportunity for them to come together and chat, see each other. There's comfort in seeing each other and being able to, hey, how you doing? Or, so we started off with maybe 15 minutes of just open chat, just new people getting to know us and people that we've had on the event, just saying hi and such. And then, we might share something that's going on with Relay, but then we bring in a presenter. We've had aromatherapy, believe it or not. We've had some fitness. We've had chair yoga. We've had nutrition. We've had many different things. We actually even made beautiful clay beads and made jewelry over a Zoom with an artist that taught us how to do that over a Zoom meeting. So that was a fun activity that we had done, which was everybody loved it. It was great.
That's like meditation in motion. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's something different. They don't mind hopping on for an hour. Like I said, it's really a chance to connect. Hence the word connect, survivor connect. So
this
really
Survivor
great.
Connect, what is the most frequent question that you're asked as a survivor? And let's just say someone comes on new, or someone's attending the gathering right now and feels alone.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that people will ask about, especially in the COVID world that we're living in, and especially if a survivor doesn't have any family around. And I've seen that as a Reach to Recovery volunteer. Early on, I had a patient who was about 70 or 80. I felt so bad for her. She had no family members. And here she is trying to get through her cancer surgery, try to deal with, a drain tube and all of this stuff that she has no idea how to do it, and so you help them. And that's the hard thing is not, if you don't have anybody, but reach out to people. If you do have people in your circle, reach out to your family and your friends. Reach out to the American Cancer Society. They have great support services there. They are there 24/7. You can call them 1-800-ACS-2345. You can go to cancer.org. There's all kinds of information online that you can look at freely. Your family can look at it and learn. They have pieces of information they can mail you if you need, direct pieces of mail to look at and such. We're getting ready to do some promo things at one of the churches actually 2 churches in the area, and for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and also to promote Relay. And we're bringing breast cancer literature, because the most important thing, and I've got my pin on today, and all the month of October, I try to wear pink or wear a pin, or I have earrings that are pink. Is to just educate people that they need to be aware, and they need to go and get those mammograms, and they need to do their self-checks, and they need to talk to their doctors and make sure that they're doing everything they can to educate themselves and be aware, because awareness is the key. If they find that they have something, then you act on it and you take care of it right away. That's why I'm here today. And I'm grateful for being here, because like I said, I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I've done in my life and meet all the wonderful people like yourself that I've never, I would have done this if I not been for my cancer. So it's really been a blessing. But it's just, you just need to not be afraid.
Dawn, one last question, because you're talking about preventative medicine. Is there a set rule that you would suggest to everyone, all women out there, in how often they should have a mammogram and how often they should do a self-check?
Yeah, you should be doing your self-checks. Honestly, you know your body better than any doctor that's going to see you once a year or twice a year. You know your body best, and you will know if there's a lump there. Mine was undetectable. It would have only been detected by a mammogram. And thankfully, it was a new mammogram system that they had brought in a couple months earlier. So mine was picked up. At that point, I was told 3% of the... I miss my sister dearly, but there's a reason for everything in our lives. And it breaks my heart that her 5 children don't have her here. But because of her, I went and I got my mammograms. I did what I needed to do because I saw what she went through. And it's heartbreaking to see these women to have to go through this. It's very difficult. You're in, thrown into something that you have no idea, I would recommend highly to make sure that you have someone with you when you go into the doctor's, because trust me, you're not hearing things. When the doctor's telling you stuff, you are not hearing what the doctor's telling you half the time. That other set of ears is always great to have as a, helping hand.
Okay, Dawn, I want to be very specific here. So I'm going to ask again, how often is the self-check? Is it every shower? Is it once a week?
Sure, you can do it as you're lathering with soap. You can check once a week. It's whatever works for you. I would just say try to keep up at some kind of a check, whether it's once every other month. However you can remember to do it, do it. ACS at one point had cards you could hang on your shower. Make sure you go get your checks from your doctor, your OBGYN or your family physician once a year. If you're at the age that 48, 50, you need to get a mammogram, go get that mammogram because that could save your life.
Is that once a year?
Yes, usually.
I want you to be specific here because I don't want anyone misinterpreting what you're saying. So you're saying a mammogram.
Once a year, a mammogram. Yes, yes. And you know what? I say if you have a family history of it and you're scared to death, my daughter is scared to death. If you're scared to death and you feel you need a mammogram, beg your doctor for a mammogram and at least get a baseline done so that you can feel comfortable. Because personally, I would have been looking over my shoulder. I was offered many options. We didn't go into this. I was offered many options by my doctor, my surgeon. I could do nothing. I could have a single mastectomy. I could have a bilateral mastectomy. I could have a lumpectomy with radiation. And because of my sister and my family history with breast cancer, I chose my best option. My best option was to have bilateral mastectomies with reconstructive surgery. I would have been looking over my shoulder every day if I had not done that. And that's why I did it. But the women have to do what is best for them and their families. It's not an easy decision, but you make the best decision at the time and, you have to go with that. But I've never looked back and said, I wish I didn't. Honestly, I feel like that was my best chance to live and be here for my kids.
And for everyone else that you're spreading the word. Thank you.
I try.
Thank you. Dawn, stay there because we're going to bring Dr. Jeannie Subach back.
Thank you. Hi, Jeannie.
There's Dr. Jeannie. Dawn, do you have any questions for Jeannie?
Well, Pat, you killed every question I had because you were talking about almond milk, and then you asked other questions about the almond milk, so it lost that. But I'm gonna backtrack a little, Jeannie, because I've heard this in other meetings with survivors when we discuss nutrition. Can you just somehow explain the portions that we're supposed to be having? Because I think people are confused about that sometimes, and that might be something that's beneficial to many people.
Yeah. So portions are going to be individualized for every person. It's going to be different. So for athletes, we used to say, eat your fist in carbohydrate and your hand in protein. We're a little bit different, but it's still proportional. You can do the palm of your hand for your protein size. That would be okay. And even the fist. So an example, I have a 1 cup fist, so I can eat 1 cup of pasta. Whereas one of the big players might have a 2-3 cup of fist. Right. What I would do, Dawn, is I would just look at the label. Look at the nutrition fact label. Look at the portion that is on the label. And that is the average portion size that you really should have. I know, we talk about the My Plate, and even though it's basic, it just tell you that half of your fruits and vegetables, your plate should be fruits and vegetables, and then a quarter grains. One thing, you really cannot eat too many vegetables. Your body will tell you when to stop. Fruits, I don't want people eating any more than 3 fruits a day. 1 to 2 fruits a day is okay. It's a good food, but it does have calories. It does have the natural sugars, and we can't go hog wild and do too much of anything. So I would
that's
say,
great to know.
To recap, read the nutrition fact labels, look at the portions they're recommending, and then use that as a guide.
Yeah, I heard that. I've heard that question over and over at every nutrition meeting that I've gone to. That's always a question. And, people don't always read the labels, on how much they should have. So I thought it would be good, since you showed with your hand, I think that's great. Then people have a better idea of how much of a portion of pasta or whatever to have.
Yes, so your palm of your hand is about a 3-ounce portion, and that's the average portion of a protein. And again, I have a 1 cup fist, and you can do that and play with that a little bit.
That's perfect. That's perfect. You're awesome.
Okay, Jeannie and Dawn, stay there. Diana, come on from ACS. This is our director of the ACS Healed program. Diana, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for bringing me on for the questions.
Go ahead. And Diana usually has questions from our audience. Do you have any, Diana?
I do. The first one is for Dr. Subach. You talked a lot about the importance of prebiotics and how beans are a really good prebiotic. We heard from Pat, some people can't really tolerate beans. What are some other great sources of prebiotics that people can choose from?
So your fruits and your vegetables and your whole grains, they're, the whole foods, that's going to be your prebiotics as well. It's not limited to beans.
And is there, I think you talked a little bit about the combination of the prebiotic and the probiotic. Is there a formula for figuring out how much of each we should have?
No, not really. I would say if you keep going back to my plate, if you eat a variety of foods, definitely have half of your diet fruits and vegetables, and then the other half grains. That should be sufficient.
So stay there, Jeannie, because when you talk grains, people are going to think grains could be a donut. Like grains, you're not talking white bread grains.
No, we're talking whole grains.
This is important.
Yeah, we're talking whole grains. So with this plate, when it says the grains, half of your grains should be the whole grains. All right. So that means that if you have your Sunday pasta and gravy and you want that white pasta, by all means do that. But the rest of your day, it should be whole grain. So no frosted flakes, you're going to do the oatmeal. No Stroman bread, you're going to use a whole wheat bread. No saltine crackers, you're going to do a Triscuit. So half of your grains should be whole because it has the fiber in it. It has the B vitamins and the minerals. It has the prebiotics in it. So so it's going to be the whole grains.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Great. My next question is for Dawn. You talked about the fact that you were pretty active your whole life and that you continue to be active through your surgery and post-surgery. How important do you think that was for your recovery from your surgeries, the fact that you were so active? And I saw something in the notes that you sent me that they actually found you right before your surgery, actually stretching on the gurney.
Yes, I was.
Tell us more about that and how important you think that was to how well you did with your recovery.
Well, I felt like that was a part of my life, and I knew I was going to be in a surgery for, 4 or 5 hours, whatever it was. And I thought, well, why wouldn't it be more beneficial for me to stretch while I'm sitting here waiting for the doctors? Because, another surgery was before mine and they were a little longer. But the nurses were laughing at me, but, it helped keep me centered and calm. I mean, I was working out the night before. I went to a class that I'd never taken in my life just because I needed to get that nervous energy out. And it really did help me focus. And I went into my surgery with, I wasn't worried. I knew it was going to be okay. I had my faith in God. I knew, God was going to be there for me. My family was there for me. And so I knew I was going to, I really felt 100% positive I was going to be fine. Whatever it was, I was going to be fine. So, I just think it helps everything. It just helps to focus.
Dawn, I have a question for you. Relative to post-surgery, did you change your dietary habits?
Back then, no, I did not really. I mean, I drank more water. I tried to be mindful about that kind of thing because I know, as you were talking about medicine and such, that can cause a lot of issues if you're taking medicine, and it can really mess you up. And sometimes that's more painful than the surgeries that you have. So no, I didn't. And with regard to that, no, not at the time, because it was back in early 90s. So, it wasn't as, predominant back then, but I totally agree, with it at this point. Yeah, absolutely.
So Jeannie, same question to you. Relative to post-surgery, what would you recommend to our gathering community in more protein, more frequent meals and less volume? Anything special that they need to think about?
Always goes back to what the patient can actually consume and what they can tolerate. As a rule of thumb, yes, because you had surgery, you will have a higher protein requirement. So you're going to want to make sure that you're getting nutrient-dense protein, which is something like the yogurt. The yogurt gives you the carbohydrates, it gives you the protein, it gives you the vitamins and minerals. So it would be nutrient-dense food. Consult with that registered dietitian, and she can tell you exactly what you should be using. And again, talk to your physician and say, can I have that nutrition consult? Yeah. Dawn, I had a question for you. Did you ever see a dietitian?
I did not. No, they never put me through to a dietitian, but I know now the hospitals are all doing that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a part of the plan, which is great. I think it's great because these women come in and they don't have any idea, and they're dealing with, they're so overwhelmed with all this information, you know, learning you have cancer and then all the treatments, you know, some have to go through so many treatments, you know. So yeah, I just, you know, it just blows my mind. But nowadays all the hospitals are doing it for sure.
See, I love this, just this interaction, because you've given out great little bullets for everyone. Self-check as often as possible. Mammogram once a year. Once you've had surgery, request a dietitian consult from your doctor. I mean, this is where we have the power to ask and to do, not just to sit back and throw our hands up and say, oh, well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, if people are struggling with anxiety and such, because you don't know where people are in their lives when they're coming into this, don't be afraid to reach out and get help. You know, if you need a counselor or therapist or whatever, it's there. Back in the days when my sister passed and left 5 children behind, they didn't have therapy. And honestly, it's so beneficial because you can get your life back on track, and it makes such a difference. You know, so don't be afraid to ask your doctor for help. You know, if it's regarding that or nutrition, whatever the question is, ask them. And if they don't listen, you need to say, excuse me, I'm not done my questions yet. Please sit down and listen to me. Because, you know, I was on last week, you know, that happens. So, and they don't mean to, they're just busy and they're overwhelmed, especially these days. They're, you know, seeing a lot of patients, you know, within a 15-minute time frame half the time. So don't be afraid to ask your questions, and honestly, write them down before you go in, because half the time you'll forget. You'll get talking about something else and then you'll forget, and you'll go out to the car and say, darn, I forgot to ask that question.
Great point. There's an old Chinese proverb, Dawn, that I love. The weakest ink is better than the strongest mind. Write it down.
Yeah,
Write your
absolutely.
questions down prior to your consult. I love that.
Absolutely.
Diana, do you have any more questions?
I don't have any more questions, but I did want to follow up on something that Dawn had said regarding screenings, just to let everyone know, for the most up-to-date guidelines for not only breast cancer screenings, but all cancer screenings, go to cancer.org. And we have the most up-to-date guidelines there for everyone.
Beautiful.
And don't be afraid to go. With COVID right now, please, your doctor's offices are safe. Please go get checked, please.
Get screened.
That's your call. Call to the wild, Dawn. Jeannie, Dr. Jeannie Subach, give us one last bit of information you want everyone to take home.
Go to the grocery store, shop the perimeter, buy whole foods, and enjoy a yogurt.
Enjoy. She's got the yogurt shirt on. Dr. Jeannie Subach at Westchester University. And Dawn, one last thing you would like to shout out to all of our gathering?
Well, I would love to say hello to all the survivors out there, and a special shout out to all our Relay for Life of Chester County, PA people. And I want to thank all of the Relay for Life folks all over the country that are part of the event. Your work is a very important work. And as a survivor myself, I want to thank you.
Coming from the sage's mouth. Thank you, Dawn Kirsch, for joining us today. What a warrior. Dr. Jeannie Subach, as always, we'll see you the beginning of November. Coming back with that smile. Diana, thank you, Diana, and the American Cancer Society. Again, this is Healed, Health and Energy Through Active Living Every Day. We're here every Wednesday, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for an hour. We welcome you. Spread the word. Come to acshealed.com. Get your bracelet. See that one green bead? All of us are in this together. We're all in this together. We end every gathering with one simple little prayer, Dawn, and Jeannie knows this, and Diana knows this. And it's a simple one. It's an attitude of gratitude in the present moment. It's not petitioner. We're not asking God for anything. We're just saying thank you. Thank you for the grace in helping me to welcome what is happening right now. Because we can handle what's right now if we have the grace to stay in the now. Thank you all. Mwah. Peace be you. Peace be all of you.
Thank you,
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.